The invaders called themselves the Harvester Collective. For 10,000 years they had swept through galaxies, consuming resources and enslaving any species they found. They had never met organized resistance. The Unity fleet was the first force that actually fought back successfully. The battle stretched across star systems for 3 weeks. It was brutal and costly. The Harvesters showed no mercy. They did not negotiate, did not retreat, did not hesitate. They were a hive mind that saw other species as nothing more than resources to harvest. But the Unity fleet had something the Harvesters could not understand. Creativity born from diversity. Different species thinking in different ways, solving problems from different angles. In the command center, General Yoon worked with an unprecedented team. Human strategists, Velcrin logistics specialists, and Shora predictive analysts all working together. The Harvesters fight like a single organism, Commander Rax observed, studying battle patterns. Their coordination is perfect, but that makes them predictable. They optimize for efficiency, not adaptation. Lieutenant Nam pulled up simulations. What if we create chaos? Force them to respond to multiple threats at once. Their hive mind will struggle to prioritize. Velthas, the Shora scientist, added thoughtfully, we can create false signals that look like real ships. Combined with human guerrilla tactics and Velcrin hit-and-run attacks, we could break their formations. The strategy worked. Over the next week, the Unity fleet used tactics no single species would have invented. Human ships used Shora stealth technology to appear where enemies did not expect. Velcrin battle groups worked with human carriers to create devastating crossfire. Shora defensive shields protected supply lines while human engineers used captured harvester technology against them. But victory came at terrible cost. The Unity fleet lost hundreds of ships. Whole planetary defenses were overwhelmed. The colony world of Threshold Prime fell after 3 days of heroic defense. Its population escaped thanks to mixed fleets of human and Velcrin rescue ships, but the world itself was lost. Admiral Park stood on her bridge watching casualty reports scroll past. She had lost friends from multiple species, officers she had fought beside, respected, cared about. The 14th Velcrin Squadron is gone, Commander Rax reported, his voice carrying deep grief. They held the line at Threshold to buy time for evacuation. All ships lost. Park closed her eyes briefly. 6 months ago, Velcrin losses would have been good news. Now they were comrades fallen defending shared values. What were their names? She asked quietly. Rax listed all 17 commanders who died buying minutes for others to live. Park memorized each name. They would be honored, regardless of species. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lee, working with alien language experts, decoded fragments of Harvester communications. They are not just a hive mind, he explained to Ambassador Kim. They are a networked consciousness that needs constant communication to stay unified. Disrupt the network and you do not just confuse them. You break their ability to function as one. Chief Engineer Kang understood immediately. The quantum disruption technology we made for Velcrin shields, we could adapt it. Create a field that interferes with their neural network. Working continuously, human, Shora, and Velcrin scientists created something new, the Harmony Disruptor, a weapon that did not destroy ships but severed the connections between them. The Unity fleet lured the main Harvester force into a trap at the Kepler Junction, a crossing point of many hyperspace routes. It was risky. If the plan failed, the Harvesters would have direct access to the core worlds of all 3 major powers. Admiral Park addressed the fleet moments before battle. All ships, this is it. This battle determines our future. You come from dozens of worlds. You speak hundreds of languages. Until recently, many of you were enemies. But today you are brothers and sisters. Today we show the galaxy what unity means. All units engage. The battle was massive. 3,000 Unity fleet ships against nearly 5,000 Harvester vessels. The space around Kepler Junction became chaos. Weapons fire, explosions, desperate maneuvers everywhere. Then, at the critical moment, the Harmony Disruptors activated. The effect was immediate. Harvester formations, once perfect, suddenly fragmented. Ships drifted aimlessly or crashed into each other. Their hive mind, dependent on constant communication, simply stopped working. Without the network connecting them, individual Harvester ships were no match for the coordinated Unity fleet. Within hours, the battle shifted from desperate defense to methodical elimination of a broken enemy. When it ended, the Unity fleet had lost nearly a third of its strength. But the Harvester Collective was destroyed, its remaining forces fleeing in disorder back to the galactic rim. In the quiet aftermath, something remarkable happened. Across the fleet, regardless of species, soldiers embraced each other. They mourned their dead together. They began the process of healing together. Governor Lim, whose colony had taken in Velcrin refugees, received a message from one of them. An engineer named Zell, who served in the battle. "Thank you for giving us a home. We fought today to defend it, not because we had to, but because it is our home now too." On the flagship bridge, Admiral Park and Commander Rax stood watching recovery operations. "We won because we were united," Rax said. "But staying united in peace may be harder than in war." Park nodded. "Then that is our next challenge. We proved we can fight together. Now we prove we can live together." News of the victory spread across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved by the Harvesters for generations suddenly had hope. Smaller civilizations saw that cooperation could overcome overwhelming odds. Ambassador Kim addressed the Galactic Assembly. "We did not win because humans are superior. We did not win because Velcrin are stronger or Shora are wiser. We won because we combined our strengths and covered each other's weaknesses. That is the power of unity." High Consul Vexithara, standing beside him, added, "For thousands of years my people believed dominance ensured survival. Humans taught us a different lesson. Partnership ensures prosperity. The old council sought to control. This new assembly seeks to cooperate." Sovereign Speaker Thelnor's voice resonated deeply. "In 17 cycles of history, I have never witnessed such transformation. We stand at the dawn of a new age. Let us prove worthy of it." The Assembly voted to establish the Galactic Defense Initiative, a permanent multi-species military force dedicated to mutual protection. Former enemies now pledging to defend each other. Victory in battle was one thing, building lasting peace was another, and everyone knew the hardest work was just beginning. But for the first time, they believed it was possible. Not because it was easy, but because they had proven that together they could overcome anything. Humanity had walked away from those Armistice talks believing they could change the galaxy. They had been right. But they had not done it alone. They had done it by teaching others that strength came not from domination, but from partnership. That the future belonged not to the strongest species, but to those who could work together. The old order had fallen. A new one was rising. And though challenges remained, the galaxy finally had something it had lacked for millennia: hope for a better future, built on cooperation instead of conquest. 6 months passed since the peace was signed. Sanctum Prime looked completely different now. The diplomatic station that once separated species into isolated sections now buzzed with activity. Species mixed freely. Velcrin officers shared meals with human diplomats. Shora scholars worked with human scientists. The walls between them were coming down. Ambassador Kim walked the corridors with Dr. Lee. The young man had become an expert on helping different species understand each other. Kim was older now, more tired but satisfied with what he saw around him. "It is remarkable," Lee said. 6 months ago they wanted to control us. Now we work together on everything from trade agreements to cultural exchange programs." Kim nodded, but his face showed caution. "Peace is fragile. We proved we could force them to respect us. Now we must prove we deserve it." Not everyone was happy with the new peace. Across the galaxy, resistance movements simmered. Velcrin traditionalists refused to accept humans as equals. Human nationalist groups demanded revenge for 50 years of war. Smaller species worried they had simply traded one set of masters for another. In a secure briefing room, General Tae Yang-yoon presented threat reports to a joint military council. The idea of humans and aliens planning security together would have been impossible months ago. Now it was necessary. "We have identified 47 extremist cells across multiple species," Yoon reported. "Most are small, but 3 are serious threats. The Velcrin Purity movement has stolen military weapons. The Human Liberation Front is attacking alien civilians on mixed colonies. And a new group called the Void Reapers wants to restart the war." Next to him sat Commander Rax, a Velcrin military officer who had fought humans for decades. Now he worked with them to protect the peace. "We must act fast," Rax said, his mandibles expressing determination. "These extremists endanger everything we fought to achieve. I recommend joint task forces. Human and Velcrin soldiers working together to stop threats to all our peoples." Admiral Park, now serving as Director of Galactic Security, approved the plan. Coordinated operations begin within a week. Any group targeting civilians will be treated as hostile regardless of species. The war is over. Chief Engineer Kang found herself in an unexpected role. She led a joint research project with Shora scientists. The secret facility where humans developed weapons was now shared space. Both species worked side by side on new technologies. Her partner was a Shora named Velthas, a crystalline being whose knowledge of physics was centuries beyond human understanding. Together they created things neither species could have made alone. Your disruptor array was elegant, Velthas said, their voice like musical bells. Crude but effective. With our understanding of quantum physics, we could make it much better. Kang smiled. And with our manufacturing methods, we could produce your crystalline computers at a scale you have never achieved. Imagine what we could build together. The cooperation went beyond weapons. Human doctors combined their knowledge with Velcrin biology experts to cure diseases that had plagued multiple species. Shora architecture merged with human engineering to design space stations that were both beautiful and practical. But peace came with costs. Human colonies struggled to accept alien refugees fleeing damaged worlds. Velcrin planets dealt with economic chaos as trade networks changed. The Shora faced the stress of rapid change after thousands of years of stability. On the colony world of New Sol, protests erupted. The Galactic Assembly wanted to relocate 200,000 Velcrin refugees there. Governor Heian Lim faced an angry crowd demanding she refuse. They destroyed our cities, a protester shouted. They killed our families. And now we are supposed to welcome them? Governor Lim, who had lost her husband in the war, stood before the crowd with quiet strength. Yes, she said simply, because the alternative is continuing the cycle of hatred. These refugees are not soldiers. They are civilians fleeing the same chaos we endured. If we turn them away, what does that make us? It was a difficult message, but it was repeated across human space. The peace would only work if everyone committed to it, even when it hurt. Then something new appeared on long-range sensors. An unknown fleet approached from the edge of the galaxy. Hundreds of ships with technology unlike anything in any database. They were heading straight for settled space. The Galactic Assembly met in emergency session. Ambassador Kim studied the sensor data with growing worry. We are getting analysis from all our science teams. This is not natural. It is an invasion force. Thelnor's musical voice carried ancient memory. I have heard legends of such things. Species from beyond the rim that see our galaxy as territory to conquer. We thought them myths. Vexathera, who had earned respect for her practical leadership, clicked grimly. 50 years ago, we would have fought each other while this threat approached. Now we have a choice. Stand divided and fall or stand together and survive. Admiral Park stepped forward. I recommend immediate mobilization of all military forces under unified command. Not human command, not Velcrin, not Shora. Joint command with representatives from every species. We face this together. The vote passed unanimously. For the first time in history, former enemies would fight as allies against a common threat. The next 6 weeks were intense. Human manufacturing combined with Velcrin resources and Shora technology to produce a unified defense fleet at incredible speed. In shipyards across the galaxy, mixed crews worked day and night. A human engineer fixed a Velcrin power system. A Shora architect improved a ship design. Former enemies shared meals, swapped stories about their homes, learned to see each other as people. Coordinator Hyun Woo Choi managed logistics from a joint operations center. This is amazing, he told Lieutenant Nam. We are coordinating defense across 87 star systems involving 15 species with different languages and command structures. 6 months ago, this would have been impossible. Nam monitored fleet positions. Sir, the integrated squadrons are ready. Human, Velcrin, and Shora ships in mixed formations. They are calling themselves the Unity Fleet. It was a powerful symbol. Ships that once tried to destroy each other now flew together toward a common enemy. As the unknown fleet drew closer, attempts to communicate met silence. Whoever they were not interested in talking. Ambassador Kim broadcast one final message. To whoever approaches our space, we are the Galactic Alliance. We have fought each other for longer than some of you have existed. We learned that peace is more valuable than victory. If you come in war, you will find us united. If you come in peace, you will find us welcoming. The choice is yours. The response was immediate. The unknown fleet opened fire without warning, but the Unity Fleet was ready. Human tactics, Velcrin firepower, and Shora defensive coordination created something the invaders had never faced. Ships that should have fallen to superior numbers instead moved through the battle with practiced teamwork. Admiral Park watched from the command ship, surrounded by officers from 6 different species, all working seamlessly together. The irony, she said quietly to Commander Rax, is that our old war made us strong enough to survive this new one. Rax's mandibles clicked in agreement. And our new alliance makes us stronger than we ever were divided. Perhaps that is the lesson we needed to learn. The battle raged on, but for the first time in history, the galaxy faced its challenges as one united force. The future was uncertain, but they would face it together. 7 days later, the fleets arrived at the gas giant. The planet was a deep blue sphere covered in endless storms. It spun around its star at incredible speed. The system had no valuable resources, no colonies, no strategic importance. It was the perfect place for what the humans had planned. When the Velcrin and Shora fleets jumped into the system, they found the human 7th Fleet waiting. But something looked wrong. The human ships were spread too thin. Their defensive positions had obvious weaknesses. Their flanks were exposed. It looked like the work of amateurs, of a desperate force making mistakes. High Consul Vexithara watched from her command ship, the Eternal Victory. She clicked her mandibles with satisfaction. They are poorly positioned. Launch attack formation Beta 7. Overwhelm their center, split their fleet in half. The Velcrin fleet advanced. Their quantum shields shimmered with energy. They had fought humans for 50 years and knew exactly how to beat them. Human weapons bounced off Velcrin shields. Human missiles exploded harmlessly against Shora barriers. It was a proven defense tested in 1,000 battles. For 3 minutes, the battle seemed one-sided. Human ships took devastating hits. Explosions bloomed across their hulls. The 7th Fleet looked like it was breaking apart under the assault. The aliens pressed forward, confident in their inevitable victory. Then Admiral Park gave a single order. All ships activate disruptor arrays. Fire at will. Every human ship released a pulse of energy. It was barely visible, almost impossible to detect. For exactly 7.3 seconds, something impossible happened. The quantum shields that had protected the Velcrin fleet for centuries simply stopped working. In those 7 seconds, humanity showed what it could do. Railgun rounds traveling at near light speed punched through unprotected hulls. Missiles that would have been harmless now detonated inside enemy ships. Laser batteries designed to stress shields instead vaporized armor plating. The Velcrin fleet, so confident moments before, suddenly faced weapons they had no defense against. 8 Velcrin dreadnoughts ruptured and died in the first wave. The Shora reinforcements watched in horror as their supposedly unbreakable barriers flickered and failed. Ships that had seemed invincible were now vulnerable. But the demonstration was not finished. Across Velcrin and Shora space, 3,000 hidden platforms suddenly activated. They had been drifting for months, disguised as debris completely invisible to every scanner the galaxy possessed. Now they came online, revealing their true purpose. They were not weapons. Not yet. They were spy satellites more advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. In 30 seconds, they mapped every communication channel, tracked every ship movement, recorded every defensive installation. Humanity gained perfect knowledge of the inner workings of both empires. Admiral Park broadcast on all frequencies. This is a demonstration, not an execution. We could have made those platforms into weapons. We could have targeted your cities, your industrial worlds, your civilian populations. We did not. Consider that carefully before you decide to continue this war. On the bridge of the human flagship, Lieutenant Yoon-ji Nam monitored enemy communications. Admiral, we are receiving panicked transmissions from the Velcrin home fleet. They have detected our platforms and are demanding we shut them down. Coordinator Hyun-woo Choi checked tactical displays. All Velcrin and Shora fleets are moving to defensive positions. They are pulling back from the frontier completely. Admiral Park allowed herself a small smile. Broadcast our terms. Real terms this time. Dr. Lee appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. For those wondering how we did this, the answer is simple. We learned. Every battle taught us something. Every defeat showed us a weakness to exploit. While you grew comfortable with your ancient technology, we innovated. While you relied on superiority, we adapted. This is what humanity does. We started with stone tools and conquered a world of predators. We started with wooden ships and explored oceans. We started with chemical rockets and reached the stars. And when you pushed us to the edge, we did what we always do. We found a way forward. Ambassador Kim appeared next, standing in a clean diplomatic chamber. Here are our terms for peace. Immediate end to all fighting. Recognition of human sovereignty over all current territories. Mutual technology exchange. We will share defensive innovations. You will share knowledge about governing multi-species communities. Establishment of neutral trade zones. No reparations from any side. A joint council with equal representation for all species. His voice carried absolute certainty. These terms are not negotiable. But they are fair. More fair than you offered us. We could have demanded your surrender. We could have destroyed your fleets and taken your worlds. Instead, we offer partnership, equality, real peace. You have 48 hours to respond. If you choose to keep fighting, understand this. What you saw today was a demonstration. What comes next will be a war you cannot win. The Velcrin Council met in emergency session. Vexithara was no longer arrogant. She was terrified. Her intelligence officers showed simulation after simulation. Everyone showed the same result. If the war continued, the Velcrin would lose. How did they advance so quickly? She demanded. We have had thousands of years to perfect our technology. Officer Kex displayed comparative data. They have had 50 years of constant war. Every battle taught them lessons they applied immediately. Their technology improves in months where ours takes decades. They have been outpacing us for years, and we never noticed because we thought they were primitives. Sovereign Speaker Thelnor broadcast his own message to the Shora people. I have lived through 17 cycles of galactic history. I have seen countless species try to challenge the established order. None succeeded until now. The humans are not our enemies. They are our future. We can accept that and join them as equals, or we can fight and be swept aside. 27 hours after the demonstration, responses began arriving. Not from the leadership, but from individual ships, individual commanders, individual worlds. Dozens of Velcrin officers broadcast support for the human terms. Shora colonies declared neutrality and demanded their government accept the peace. Smaller species in the council, long dominated by the major powers, suddenly found their voice and demanded equal representation. The old order was crumbling, not because of military defeat, but because the humans showed something the galaxy had forgotten. It was possible to change the rules. Vexthara realized she had no choice. Refusing the human terms would not lead to victory. It would lead to the complete collapse of the Velcrin Collective as her own people abandoned the war. She sent a message, short and bitter. The Velcrin Collective accepts the proposed terms. We will send representatives to Sanctum Prime. The Shora followed minutes later. Thelnor's voice carried what might have been relief. The Shora Dominion agrees. Perhaps this new age will be more interesting than the old one. Across human space, the reaction was quiet. No celebrations, no parades, just millions of soldiers, scientists, and civilians who finally allowed themselves to believe they might survive. That they might actually win not just a battle, but a future. Admiral Park stood on her bridge watching the alien fleets withdraw. Lieutenant Nam approached carefully. Ma'am, we did it. We actually won. Park nodded slowly. We did. But this is just the beginning. Now we have to learn how to live with the galaxy instead of fighting it. That might be even harder than winning the war. She was right. Winning a war required strength and courage. Building a lasting peace required something even more difficult. It required trust, compromise, and the willingness to see former enemies as potential friends. The hard work was just beginning. 3 weeks passed after the humans walked out. The Velcrin Collective expected the humans to come back begging for mercy. Instead, there was only silence. Every human colony went quiet. All communications stopped. Automated messages played on repeat. The Terran Federation is unavailable for diplomatic contact at this time. This silence scared the aliens more than any threat could have. An enemy that screams is easy to understand. An enemy that goes quiet is planning something dangerous. Admiral Sujin Park stood in the command center orbiting Mars. Holographic displays surrounded her, showing every human star system at once. Next to her was Fleet Coordinator Hyunwoo Choi, a brilliant man who organized supplies and ships. For 3 weeks he had been moving the biggest military force in human history. Status report, Park said. Hyunwoo touched his screen. Star maps expanded and filled with data. Project Exodus is 87% complete. We have moved every civilian from the frontier worlds. 22 billion people relocated to core systems in 3 weeks. It is the largest migration in recorded history. The colonies, Park asked, stripped bare. We took everything that mattered. Manufacturing equipment, genetic banks, cultural archives. We left nothing but empty buildings. If the Velkrin want those worlds, they will get worthless dirt. A young officer named Lieutenant Yoon Ji-nam looked up from her station. Admiral, the Shora are broadcasting demands. They want us to return to negotiations. They are threatening economic sanctions. Admiral Park smiled coldly. Sanctions require trade. We stopped trading with them the moment we left Sanctum Prime. What else? The Velkrin Collective has mobilized 3 battle fleets. They are heading for our outer colonies. They will arrive in 16 days, which are now completely empty, Hyunwoo added with satisfaction. They will arrive to find ghost towns. Park transferred to a secret research facility hidden in the Oort cloud. To sensors, it looked like just another relay beacon. But inside, hundreds of scientists worked on weapons that would change everything. Chief Engineer Sang-mi Kang met Park in the observation deck. Below them, scientists worked on technologies the aliens thought were impossible. Kang was in her 30s, brilliant and completely focused on her work. "Show me," Park said simply. Kang brought up a holographic design. "We have been studying Velkrin shield technology for years. They think it is impenetrable, because it uses quantum entanglement that most species cannot understand. But humans love solving impossible problems." She zoomed in on a weapon. "This is the disruptor array. It does not try to break through their shields. It makes the shields disappear. The weapon creates a field that collapses the quantum entanglement. Their shields simply stop existing for 7 seconds. That is enough time for our regular weapons to hit them." Park studied the design. "Production status? We have installed it on every ship in the 7th Fleet. The other fleets will be ready within a month." "And the Ghost Protocol?" Kang's smile turned predatory. "Active and operational. We have deployed 3,000 stealth platforms throughout Velkrin and Shora space. They are powered down, drifting like space debris, completely invisible. On your command, they activate and start gathering intelligence. Or they become weapons. Your choice." At the Velkrin Intelligence Headquarters, High Consul Vexthara received troubling reports. The human activity made no sense. Intelligence Officer Keck spoke in rapid clicks. "High Consul, human ship production has somehow accelerated. We counted 342 new warships in the last 3 weeks. This should be impossible given their resource constraints." "How?" Vexthara demanded. "We do not know. They have converted civilian infrastructure at an unprecedented rate. Cargo vessels are being armed. Mining stations are producing military-grade armor. And their fleet movements are not defensive. They are positioning for something." Another officer showed a star map. "Our fleets are moving to the frontier colonies as planned. But sensors show the colonies are abandoned. Complete evacuation. Every single human world on the border is empty." "Impossible," Vexthara hissed. "You cannot move billions in weeks, yet they did. And High Consul, we have lost contact with 7 monitoring outposts. All went silent in the last 3 days. No distress signals, just silence." On the 21st day, the silence broke. A transmission broadcast simultaneously to every major power in the galaxy. Ambassador Daewon Kim appeared on screens everywhere. He looked older but completely calm. 3 weeks ago, you offered humanity a choice: submission or annihilation. We chose a third option: evolution. Behind him, images flashed. Human fleets in tight formations. New weapon systems being installed. Soldiers training in zero gravity. Scientists working in massive facilities. You studied us. You cataloged our weaknesses. You planned our defeat. But you made a critical error. You assumed that war with you would make us weaker. Instead, it made us stronger. You forced us to innovate, to unite, to become something more than we were." His expression turned hard. "You wanted to see humanity without restraint? You wanted to force us to choose between survival and principles? Congratulations. Now you will learn what we are truly capable of when you give us no choice but to win. This is your one chance to reconsider. Return to Sanctum Prime, offer real terms. Equality, mutual respect, genuine peace, or do not. Either way, the old rules of this war died when we walked out of those talks." The transmission ended with coordinates and a timestamp. 7 days. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Sovereign Speaker. Thelnor's musical voice carried fear. "They gave us coordinates. They gave us a time. They are inviting us to attack a specific location. This is unprecedented." High Consul Vexthara clicked nervously. "It is a trap. Obviously a trap, yes, Thelnor agreed. But they told us it is a trap. They are daring us to spring it anyway. The psychological warfare alone is remarkable. Vor, the Quellan counselor, studied the data. The coordinates point to a gas giant with no strategic value. No colonies, nothing. Why there? A human hologram appeared, transmitted through channels that should have been impossible to access. It was Dr. Ji-Hoon Lee, the cultural expert. I stayed behind as an unofficial observer. Let me explain what you are about to witness. A demonstration of human innovation. We call it Operation Checkmate. Show up if you want or do not. Either way, you will get the message. The hologram disappeared. High Consul Vexathara made her decision. Mobilize everything. If the humans want to show us their new toys, we will crush them and demonstrate that ancient power still rules this galaxy. But as the Velkrin and Shora fleets began moving, military analysts quietly ran computer simulations. Every single simulation showed the same result. Human victory. They just could not figure out how. 7 days. That was all the time left before everything changed. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their tactics. It was their refusal to accept the rules others tried to impose on them. The human delegation quarters were comfortable but clearly monitored. Large windows showed the council station's exterior, where dozens of warships from various species now maintained position. Some had their weapons powered down, others did not. The galaxy was deciding whether humanity was a friend or a threat, and they were preparing for either outcome. Ambassador Park stood at the window, his reflection showing every one of his 58 years. He had not slept since the demonstrations began. None of them had. How could they sleep while the fate of their entire species hung in balance? Hana sat at the table reviewing data on her tablet. Specialist Choi practiced controlled breathing exercises in the corner, maintaining combat readiness despite the waiting. Dr. Lee monitored news feeds from Earth, where billions watched and worried. Dr. Song stood beside Ambassador Park, equally silent. Did we make a mistake? Park asked quietly. Should we have been less honest? Shown them only our peaceful side? They would have discovered the truth eventually, Dr. Song replied. Better they hear it from us than uncover it through investigation. At least this way we controlled the narrative. Did we, though? Hana looked up from her tablet. We just told the entire galactic community that humans are persistence hunters, who eliminated every competitor on our planet and spent thousands of years perfecting how to kill each other. That narrative makes us sound like monsters. We are monsters, Choi said from her corner. At least we can be. That's what they need to understand. We have the capacity for terrible violence. The question is whether they believe we've truly chosen to control it. Dr. Lee's tablet chimed with an incoming message. He read it, his face going pale. Earth's defense fleet has moved into position around our solar system. They're not taking chances. If the Council decides to quarantine or attack, Earth is prepared to fight. That's exactly the wrong message, Park said, turning from the window. We're trying to show we're not a threat, and Earth responds by mobilizing for war? It's human nature, Dr. Song said softly. When cornered, we fight. It's the same instinct that made us apex predators. We don't surrender easily. A soft tone indicated someone at the door. Hana stood, her hand instinctively moving toward where a weapon would be if she were armed. Old habits. The door opened to reveal 2 council guards and a small floating drone. The council has reached a decision, the drone announced in a neutral voice. Your presence is requested in the main chamber immediately. The walk to the chamber felt longer than before. The station's corridors were nearly empty, most species keeping to their quarters during the deliberation. The few aliens they passed moved away quickly, pressing against walls to maintain distance from the human delegation. Fear was obvious in their body language. The council chamber was packed when they entered. Every species representative seemed to be present, filling the galleries to capacity. The 7 arbiters sat on their floating platforms, their various forms somehow unified in their gravity. Armed security forces lined every wall, a show of strength unlike anything the council typically displayed. The human delegation took their position at the center of the floor, alone, isolated. 5 humans surrounded by thousands of aliens, many of whom now saw them as potential threats. Ambassador Park kept his expression neutral, but Hana could see the tension in his shoulders. Velketh rose from their platform, the movement drawing absolute silence from the chamber. Representatives of Earth, the Arbiter began, their voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. The Council has completed its deliberation regarding your application for membership. This has been the most difficult assessment in Council history. Never before have we encountered a species quite like humanity. The Arbiter paused, and in that pause, Hana felt the weight of everything. Every human who had ever lived, who had ever hunted, who had ever made the choice to build instead of destroy, all of it came down to the next words. You have shown us things that disturb many council members, Velketh continued. Your capacity for endurance, your history of eliminating competition, your refined ability to wage war, especially against yourselves. These revelations have caused considerable fear among our member species, particularly those who evolved as prey. Ambassador Park nodded slowly. We understand, Arbiter. We were honest about our nature because we believed you deserved the truth. And that honesty is partly why we reached the decision we did, Velketh said. The council vote was divided. 3 factions emerged during our deliberation. One faction advocated for immediate acceptance, believing humanity's choice to redirect their predatory instincts makes them valuable potential allies. Another faction called for permanent quarantine of Earth, arguing that the risk of human expansion into the galaxy is too great. A third faction suggested preemptive military action. The chamber erupted in noise, shouts of agreement and protest. Security forces moved closer as tensions rose. Hana felt her heartbeat quicken. Preemptive military action meant war. It meant Earth's defense fleet would fight, and regardless of who won, it would confirm every fear the galaxy had about humanity. Velketh raised a limb for silence. The preemptive action faction was dismissed. The Council determined that attacking Earth would not only be morally wrong, but strategically foolish. Your demonstrations made clear that humans are formidable even when not preparing for war. Attacking a species of persistence hunters who have refined warfare for thousands of years would be catastrophic for all involved. So it came down to acceptance or quarantine, the Sand Pillar Arbiter added, and after extensive debate, acceptance won by a narrow margin. Hana felt her knees weaken slightly. Acceptance. They had voted for acceptance. Ambassador Park's face showed relief so profound it was almost painful to see. However, Velketh continued, and the word carried weight. Acceptance comes with conditions. Earth will be admitted to the Galactic Council on a probationary basis for 50 standard years. During this time, humanity must meet specific requirements. The Sphere Arbiter projected a list into the air. First, full transparency regarding Earth's military capabilities and defensive strategies. Second, integration of human military forces with Council peacekeeping operations. Third, mandatory cultural exchange programs to promote understanding between humans and other species. Fourth, establishment of a joint oversight committee to monitor human expansion and ensure compliance with Council regulations. Ambassador Park studied the conditions carefully. They were restrictive, certainly more demanding than conditions placed on other species, but they were also reasonable given what humanity had revealed. The Earth government will need to ratify these conditions, he said, but I believe they will accept them. We came here seeking partnership, not dominance. There is one more thing, Velketh said, and their tone shifted slightly. Something unexpected emerged during our deliberations. Multiple species have already submitted requests for human military advisors. It seems that while your predatory nature frightens many, others recognize it might be valuable. Hana blinked in surprise. Military advisors? Which species? Primarily prey species, the Sand Pillar Arbiter explained. They want to learn human endurance techniques, strategic thinking, and defensive tactics. The galaxy faces threats that our typical approaches have struggled to counter. Pirates, rogue factions, entities that don't respond to our usual diplomatic solutions. Some council members believe that humanity's hunting instincts, properly directed, could help address these challenges. Dr. Song stepped forward. So you're saying the galaxy wants to learn from us? The species that terrified you hours ago? Fear and respect are not mutually exclusive, Velketh said. We fear what you could become if you chose violence. But we respect what you have become by choosing otherwise. That capacity for choice, that ability to redirect instinct through conscious decision, is perhaps more impressive than your hunting abilities. Most species are what their evolution made them. Humans chose to be more. The arbiter moved closer to the human delegation. You asked us to trust that you would choose cooperation over conflict, that you would hunt knowledge instead of prey. We are taking that risk. But understand this. The galaxy will be watching. Every action humanity takes will be scrutinized. One misstep, one return to predatory behavior against another species, and Earth will be quarantined immediately.
Can you accept these terms?
Ambassador Park looked at his team. Hana nodded. Specialist Choi nodded. Dr. Lee and Dr. Song nodded. The decision was unanimous. Park turned back to the arbiters and bowed formally. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, he said, his voice steady despite the emotion beneath it. We accept these conditions. We understand the risk you're taking in accepting us. We will prove worthy of that trust. We are apex predators, yes. But we are apex predators who choose to protect rather than prey. That choice is genuine. We will show you. The chamber remained quiet for a moment. Then slowly, some species began a gesture of acknowledgement. Others followed. Not celebration, not quite acceptance, but recognition. Humanity had been admitted to the galactic community. As the formal ceremony concluded and the various delegates began to leave, Velketh approached the human delegation privately. The arbiter's suit hummed with what might have been emotion.